Welcome to the Online Business Launchpad podcast. If you've just started a business and you really want it to grow, or if you've got a lot of real world business experience and you really just need to get your business online, this is the podcast for you. In this podcast, we talk about all the things that affect business growth, things like mindset and technology and marketing and sales, all of the things that really matter that are going to help you grow the business to the place you want it to. We bring in experts so that you can gain the benefit of their wisdom, and I share my experiences and the experiences that my team have had so that you can learn from us and use that information to grow your business. Welcome to the Online Business Launchpad podcast. If you've just started a business and you really want it to grow, or if you've got a lot of real world business experience and you really just need to get your business online, this is the podcast for you. In this podcast, we talk about all the things that affect business growth, things like mindset and technology and marketing and sales, all of the things that really matter that are going to help you grow the business to the place you want it to. We bring in experts so that you can gain the benefit of their wisdom, and I share my experiences and the experiences that my team have had so that you can learn from us and use that information to grow your business. Welcome again to the Online Business Launchpad podcast. I'm your host, Trudy Rankin. Just recently, I was walking along a path that goes past a bunch of playing fields. And I was on my way to the library where I go on a regular basis to just do some work, just to get away from my home office for a little bit. And it was freezing cold and I was shivering and the grass was really beautiful and green, but it was damp and you could tell it was damp. And I was just walking past and I noticed that there was these two young lads there doing sprint practice, and they were being watched over very carefully by their coach who was instructing them on what to do. But it was something about exactly what the coach was having them do that caught my eye. At first, this coach had both boys standing about maybe 30 meters apart, facing each other, and then he'd yell, "Go," and they'd race to see who could get to the other person's side the quickest. And then I watched that for a couple of times and just kind of noticed how they were going. And I realized that one of the boys was consistently a bit quicker than the other. And then I thought, oh, that's probably going to happen. Somebody's going to be quicker than the other. But then the coach made that boy, the faster boy, lie down on the ground, face down, and start his sprint from flat on his stomach. And I thought, oh, wow, he's going to lose for sure this time because you're starting from the ground. How can you possibly win? But he did. He still beat the other boy. And so I thought, wow, he must be pretty good. And then I watched as the coach made the slower boy start his sprint from flat on his belly. And I was watching, and the faster boy was smirking a little bit as he watched this other kid kind of grimace and very grudgingly lower himself down onto the wet grass. He kind of did it in several stages, a little tiny bit at a time, just like he was trying to acclimatize himself to the cold, wet grass. And then the coach yelled, "Go." And the smirk disappeared off of Fast Boy's face, because despite the fact that so far he'd always been the fastest runner, this time the slower boy won, and he won hands down despite the wet grass and the belly start. And I was astonished. I thought, wow, that coach must know that there's something about having to just explode yourself off the ground like a rocket in order to even start running. That must give sprinters an edge. And I was just thinking to myself as I kept walking on towards the library, I thought, that is so true in business. When your back is against the wall or your belly's flat on the freezing cold, wet grass, you are going to put every ounce of effort and brains that you have into getting off the ground and sprinting towards the finish line. And I interviewed somebody recently where that was kind of the case. I talked to Sophie Howard, who's the founder of Aspiring Entrepreneurs, and she had basically left her high-flying, high-paying corporate job and started her own business so that she could be at home with her two young children. And she knew she had to make things work. And if you haven't heard my interview with Sophie, you can go to onlinebusinessliftoff.com/podcast, and it'll jump you to where all the podcast episodes, and it's episode number 150. And I think her story is really, really interesting. And if you haven't heard this story, then I would highly recommend that you go and listen to it. But it also reminds me, these boys, doing belly starts from the wet grass. It reminds me of a time when I did a super belly flop in my business. And I had made the mistake of putting all my eggs in one basket. I had picked up a customer, or it was a potential customer, that was big enough that it was going to be enough work for my small business that would last me for a whole year. And it was just going to be amazing and wonderful. And it was going to be great for them and great for me. And I worked on it, and they said, yes, 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 all the way up until I was ready to send them the invoice to get started. And then it was crickets. I got nothing. I got no responses to my emails. I got absolutely zero responses until the day before Christmas. I got an email, a very curt, short email saying, look, sorry, thank you so much for sharing all your information. Oh dear. And we're going to do it ourselves. And I thought, oh no, I am toast. I have got no other customers lined up for next year. What am I going to do? And so I scrabbled, I hustled, I just looked everywhere I could to find work so that I could just keep my business alive, because I still really, really wanted to run my own business. And during that time, as I was looking for ideas and customers and things to do, I actually went to a meetup where I was introduced to someone who was just starting a software as a service business. And this was one that makes it easy for business owners to quickly create decision trees, and as a consequence, quickly boost their conversion rates for leads and sales. Well, I can hear you asking, what's a decision tree and what do they do? Well, it's a little bit like a choose your own adventure book. It's a bunch of carefully selected questions that, depending on how they're answered, is going to give the person answering the questions some really highly personalized insights into their situation and what to do about their situation. And it also helps the person answering those questions leapfrog over the stuff that's stopping them from achieving their goals. Now, the really valuable thing is that it also helps you, as the business owner, discover more about your potential customers, which of course means that you can optimize and refine your services, your product offerings, and all your copy, whether it's for your website, your emails, your social media posts, or whatever it is. Now, most people would be more familiar with the word quizzes rather than decision trees, but quizzes are only just one kind of a decision tree. And there are really, really lots of ways to use decision trees in your business to actually do a ton of things. But however you use them, they're really great at attracting attention. They're also really, really helpful in personalizing how you respond to potential customers. And also this is something that doesn't get talked about so much, in helping you collect clues about who those people are and what they really need from you. But anyway, back to the story. As I was hustling during this year and I was introduced to this software as a service offering that helped create decision trees, I was really intrigued with the concept behind it, these decision tree based quiz software. And so I offered to help do some beta testing with it. And the more I played with the software, the more interested I got, because I could really see the potential there for helping with all kinds of things, how to understand your customer better, how to get more leads and sales, all of those sorts of things. And of course, like I said, this was my crunch year. I had to make it work. And so as I played with the software, I progressed from making decision trees for fun, just to see what they would do, to making them for my own business. And then I started making them for other people's businesses, kind of like as a side hobby almost, and just got better and better and better at it. And then I got to the place where these were actually making quite a big impact on the businesses that I was helping make them for. And then I got to the place where I started teaching anyone who was interested how to create their own decision tree based quizzes, surveys, and diagnostic tools. And I've lost track of exactly how many decision tree quizzes and diagnostic tools I've built. But I thought you might be interested in knowing some of the different types of decision trees that are possible, because there's so many ways that I use them, both for myself and customers, and I've heard of others as well. And I believe that you're only limited by your imagination. So I'm just going to quickly run through just some examples here. The first one is as a lead magnet. Now, I think everyone knows what a lead magnet is. It's something free that you give away in return for somebody else's email address and name. and you basically use it to get people onto your email list. And so just some quick examples of ones that I've done is, how strong is your business idea for people who are just getting started? What's your menopause symptom personality for people who are suffering from menopause and just really wanting to know what to do about it? And someone I know built a quiz around what's your plant parent personality for people who are wondering why they're always killing their plants. And they'd like some advice about, how to actually not be a black thumb person when it comes to plants. And the whole purpose is to, as I said, attract people to the quiz, get their name and email address in return for being able to access their results from answering all those questions. Now, the second kind of decision tree that's really effective, but in a slightly different way, quite a different way actually, are diagnostic tools. And you use your quiz software, your decision tree software, to create a series of questions that help you diagnose whatever problem is stopping people from achieving their goals, and also to help people get a better understanding of what makes them tick. You've all seen the personality type quizzes or diagnostic tools like Myers-Briggs and all the Myers-Briggs clones that are out there. I've done one around, are you ready to write a book for a client? What's your community's personality type? I did as a collaboration with someone who's into community management. And as I said, it really is for diagnostic purposes because it's diagnosing where people are in terms of reaching specific goals that they have, and being able to answer all those questions helps them to solidify in their mind what it is that they need to deal with. And you use your own frameworks to be able to diagnose what's stopping them. And you use the results of the quiz or the decision tree to give them the cure. The next example is what I call a starting line quiz. This is where people are starting to access something that you might have for the first time, and they're not really sure where to start. And I've talked about this one before. It's really good for businesses with lots of good content that's really getting buried. And what you can do is you can ask just a really few questions. I have one that's only 3 questions long. And then you use those answers that they give to point people to the right place to start for them to start consuming your content. And you can use it for quizzes. You can use it for blog posts. You could use it for all different kinds of things. You could even use it for your YouTube channel if you wanted. So that's a really good way of using a decision tree to just help you give people just a little bit of a better experience. Another one is a script builder, and this is where you use a step-by-step question asking process where you then compile their answers and you use those answers to create a sum that's greater than the individual parts. So for example, I've been in a situation where we used answers to create a really simple script, and the decision tree went with a training on how to get started with videos, using videos to help grow your business. And so people would answer questions step by step, and we would just compile the answers. And at the end of it, when they'd finished, they had this draft script, a video script, so that they could take it away and tweak it and use it to create their first video. It was very simple, very short, but very effective in helping people get started, because that meant they didn't have to stare at a blank screen, which is usually, that sort of kills off 99% of people trying to do something because they just don't know where to start. Another example is what I call a plan creator. And once again, this is where you answer questions and you use the responses plus a bit of smarts built into the decision tree to help create a plan. And you can do this with or without AI. You could use ChatGPT or other things built into the tool that I use to actually build in some smarts, but you don't have to. You can use it without that. And I've used it where I did a collaboration workshop where basically we use the decision tree to create a draft content marketing plan that people could use as a starting point for developing a content marketing plan for their business for the next 3 months. So there's so many other examples I could give, exit surveys for when people leave your community, or even maybe employees who leave your business, and you can just ask them a few questions and say, hey, what's the deal here? What's the story? What was it that you were expecting? What didn't you get? And you can use that and match their answers up to maybe entrance interviews that you've used when people come on board, and you can compare to see, where's the gaps? What were people expecting? What did they get? And then you can figure out why they left. That can really help you decrease your churn rate because you know how to fix some of the gaps. You can use it to determine whether somebody's eligible for a particular service, and on, which products do customers want you to develop next? So if you found yourself in a situation where it feels like you're having to do belly starts to get your business sprinting forward, or you've made the mistake that I did and put all your eggs in one basket, and you really, really need to figure out something quick, then a decision tree based quiz can really definitely help you figure out which direction to head and how to best serve your customers. So if you're interested in learning more about decision trees and how to create them, you're welcome to have a look at my Quiz Creators course. And you can head on over to onlinebusinessliftoff.com/quiz-creators-course-plus. It's very long, I know, and check it out. So that's onlinebusinessliftoff.com/quiz-creators-course-plus, and each of those words is separated by a dash. Hope that was useful, and I'll see you next time.